on. So cute.
You're like so pretty.
We love each other. Can you move over a little bit?
Nope.
I always clap. So pretty. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a special guest. So pretty. And the reason why we're sitting so close is because we could only fit one chair in the frame. So we are sharing this wonderful love seat because we love each other. This is my husband. We've been married now for how many years? Don't even. Don't even.
3 years.
And we've been together for how many?
5.
Yes. Today we're going to talk about marrying somebody from another country because
Well, let's do.
today we're going to talk about marrying an American. Come on.
Okay.
Today we're going to talk about marrying an American
/ marrying a Canadian.
because if you don't know, I'm Canadian.
And I'm American.
What? We've actually gone through the immigration process twice in 3 years, which was not fun at all. And poor planning on our part, slightly.
I think we did a pretty good job of planning.
I just meant like, I think when we got married, we didn't expect to be doing immigration twice
That's true.
in such a short period of time. We knew we would be doing it. I just don't think we thought 3 years was the time.
It seems longer
when you're
before,
living in it.
But it went by really fast.
Yeah.
It felt like we just finished getting her green card, and then we were working on my permanent residency in Canada right afterwards.
And we actually get a lot of messages from friends and people that are dating Americans or vice versa about how we did our whole process. So I thought we should make a video on it. So these are our 5 tips for marrying American or marrying a Canadian. Number 1, take lots of photos together. During the whole immigration, whether you go immigrate to Canada or whether you immigrate to America, the one common thing, well, I guess it's not the one, but one of the common factors that they always ask for is pictures. And they don't want just pictures of you two. They want pictures of you guys and your family on trips, other people, and then keep track. I mean, this sounds like a very tedious thing, but just going through it, it took me hours to collect the photos. And then what I had to do was I had to name everybody in the photo. I had to say the year that we were there and the month, why we were getting together, so the event, and where we were.
Did we do that for your immigration too, or was that mostly for mine?
For the going to Canada, for you, it was more tedious. Like I don't think they needed to know where and why we were gathering, but they did need to know when and who was in the picture. They don't want just like 5 to 10 to 30 photos. They wanted at least 75 photos that you have to have, label, all of these things, and that takes a lot of time.
And we aren't picture takers, so we didn't have a lot, so it was a lot of work
to find pictures.
So if you're not a picture taking couple, I'd say start taking pictures. And then number 2, if you know at some point you're going to immigrate from Canada to America or vice versa, start keeping track, maybe make an album, start keeping track of dates, places, names, things like that. Tip number 2 is get an immigration attorney. Now, I know a lot of people that did it without an attorney and everything went fine, but for Laura and myself, there were 2 main reasons why we wanted an attorney. Number 1 was just peace of mind. Having never done it before, we were really scared of messing something up or having something go wrong. And so peace of mind was really important to us. And we used an immigration attorney both times, both when she was immigrating to the States and then when I was immigrating to Canada, and made our lives a lot easier. Number 2 is because typically your situation, or I should say typically, your situation is going to be different from everyone else's, and it may not be clear exactly what process you should go through to get your status, to file your paperwork. it's not always a clear-cut path. For instance, when Laura Lee was immigrating to the States, she was already on a certain kind of visa, and it opened up some options for us to file different kinds of paperwork so that she could get a change of residency, which meant that we never had to spend any time apart. Whereas I have lots of friends who did a K-1 visa, which is called a fiancé visa, or some of them got married first and then did the immigration process, and a lot of them had to spend time apart. So for us, a priority was never having to really be apart.
Right.
And for that reason, the immigration lawyer was super helpful. You could totally do it yourself, but for us, peace of mind and knowing our options was really useful.
Yeah.
Oh, and on top of that, I'd say if you're already thinking about immigrating to one country or another for wherever your spouse lives, I'd say don't procrastinate. If you're in a serious relationship, if you know you're going to be moving, I would say start talking to somebody. Most of them are going to say, you know, call us when you're ready to start filing. But most of the lawyers we talked to were really helpful and had great advice and free consultations and things that. But again, for us, knowing what we could do and then having help doing it was really important.
Number 3, save your messages. Not so much going to America, was it? That we had to show Actually, we did. Both ways.
Did we? I can't remember.
I feel like in the States, it was less about your relationship and more about your financial
It was more
status.
like, for instance, they cared less about us proving that our relationship was real from a perspective of photo evidence, messages. They cared less about knowing we had a romantic relationship, cared more about seeing lease agreements, bank statements, things that would prove that we are together, that we live together, that we're recognized by the U.S. government as being a couple. Those things seem to matter way more when she was coming to America. When I was going to Canada, it seemed like the opposite.
Yeah, we had to collect. We handed in, was it 800 pages?
I think something like
800 pages of Facebook messages, all of our text messages. Andrew, you got an app, right, that extracted like everything.
Yep.
Did you delete them ever? Because I delete my messages all the time. So if you're like me and you're in a relationship and you're thinking about getting married or you know it's heading to marriage, don't delete any text messages, don't delete any Facebook messages, anything. Keep it all. They want it all. We handed in 800 and they only took 60 pages, I believe, which is still pretty invasive if you think about it. They had to read through. I was mortified.
Okay, tip number 4 is pay attention to the exchange rates. So, like I said, Laura Lee and I got married 3 years ago in 2013. And in 2013, I always get this math wrong, but the U.S. dollar was worth like 98 cents or 95 cents Canadian, something like that, right? Now, the U.S. dollar in 2016 is hovering around $1.25 or $1.30 Canadian. So the U.S. dollar goes a lot further today than it did back when we were getting married, which meant our whole wedding budget cost me a lot more U.S. dollars than it would have today. But in the same way, we've spent a lot of money on immigration over the years. I'd say upwards of $10,000 on immigration paperwork and fees, lawyers, everything that went into it, different trips, things like that. So pay attention to the exchange rates. Know if you're Canadian and if it's 2016 and you're planning on coming over to the States, know that you're going to be spending a lot of Canadian dollars. If right now, if you're a U.S. citizen and you're the primary breadwinner and you're thinking about coming over to Canada, it's actually not a bad time. Your dollar will go pretty far, which it actually did for us as well.
Yeah.
And if you haven't started using credit card points, this is a good time to do it.
And number 5 is probably the best tip. It is be patient and be flexible, because this is not an easy or a fast process. You are at the mercy of government and timeline. Actually, when I was immigrating to the States, that was when the government actually shut down.
Oh yeah.
And
Forgot
so
about
it
that.
actually did push our timeline back.
They say it didn't, but I feel like it did.
Yeah. So you just have to know that you're in it for the long haul. The end goal is to be together, and you just have this season once, hopefully, although we did it twice.
Yeah, once or twice.
Once or twice. But you just have to remember to be patient, be really flexible, because, I mean, we got called into the office, you know, where we would think that I would be going to sit down, you know, in the States. I got called into that fingerprinting, but I thought it was a really important interview and that it was going to really help us, and it wasn't. It was just literally getting fingerprints. So you never really know what's going on, and that's frustrating. You know, even yesterday I got an email. We got the email from our lawyer saying that the government received, you know, our paperwork, and it said if you want to check the status of your, what's it called? Application. Thank you. Click here. And I clicked there, and then the site was down. And then I went another way, and there was no record of us. So we really don't know where we are in the process, and we submitted at the end of August.
We've had to be pretty flexible and be kind of creative with things. Like, for instance, right now, I can't officially work in Canada. When we were trying to plan our honeymoon after we got married, we had to think about, okay, is it even possible to go somewhere outside of the United States? So over the past 3 years, we've really had to be creative about things like travel, even work, figuring out, you know, ways to save money, ways to make money, pay attention to, you know, everything with family and stuff like that, make sure that there's managed expectations on both sides, with knowing sometimes you're going to have to do things and there's just no way around it. A lot of new stuff that we had to go through when Laura Lee was immigrating to the States. In a lot of ways, coming to Canada felt easier because we'd been through the process once before. Even though it was really different, we just had confidence knowing we'd successfully immigrated once.
Right.
Why can't we do it again? But
Right.
the first time around, all kinds of new appointments. Laura Lee would have to go and get her fingerprints done, which sounds really intimidating the first time around. I, coming to Canada, had to get my FBI security clearance to prove that I have no criminal record. When Laura Lee went to the States, she had to get vaccinations or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, there's all kinds of new appointments and new things that, like, I think we had planned when Laura Lee and I, when she was coming to the States, we had planned to get our paperwork out in August, and we didn't officially file, I don't think, till like October or something like that. So it was like a month and a half longer of gathering information, making it to appointments, doing paperwork, and then of course you have the interviews. And we're only like a quarter or like halfway through our process for me coming here, and so I don't even know what's next. I mean, do we have an interview? Like, I don't even know. So we'll see. But be flexible, be patient.
And you're doing it for love, hopefully. So it's all worth it. Anyways, thank you so much for watching us. So cute. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe down below, and I'll talk to you later. Say bye. Bye.